There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us.
So it's no secret that I'm often late to the party with certain games. As I explained way back in my Half-Life review, holy crap, I gotta make these more often. And to the shock horror of lots of people both in and out of the gaming community, I never grew up with a Nintendo console. I'm serious. Up until the explosion that was the Wii, the only thing I knew Nintendo for making at all was the DS handheld. And with the release of the Wii back in 2007, everyone started harping on about this giant stubby little mascot called Mario, who younger me only knew as that other gaming mascot who wasn't Crash, Rayman or Sonic the Hedgehog. Mario Kart this, Mario Party that. Good god, these motion controls are weird, I would exclaim at a friend's house after trying out Mario Party. And it wasn't until about a year and a half ago I acquired my first ever Nintendo console, the fabled Nintendo Switch, and bundled with it was a physical copy of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, not to be confused with Super Mario 3D Land or Super Mario 3D World. I picked this bundle for a few reasons. One, I felt like the mainline Mario games would be a good introduction to the world of Nintendo. 2, this bundle featured a limited time offer that would have otherwise cost £50, so I felt like I should grab what would have been my only chance to play these games virtually everyone else had played while I had the chance. And 3, as implied about 30 seconds ago with Crash and Rayman, 3D platformers were one of my go-to genres growing up on those filthy non-Nintendo consoles. It was one of the ways I could immerse myself into a fictional adventure with generally fun gameplay and quirks and collectibles for completion to keep me busy on weekends. But as people seem to be pointing out lately, 3D platformers as a genre kinda feel like a shadow of what they used to be, with Ubisoft seemingly refusing to acknowledge Rayman, one of the best and most underappreciated platformers of its time, but that's for a different video, Sonic being unsure whether his homing attack trademark wants to lock onto a decent title or miss completely yet again, with Crash Against All Odds actually making a good comeback, even if they recently left the collectathon portion in the hands of genuine sadists. And then there's whatever the hell Balan Wonderworld was meant to be, leaving Mario as one of the few still accepted 3D platformers of this age, when he and his arch nemesis aren't having a cheerful game of golf together. But I digress. You're here because you want to hear me talk about Super Mario Galaxy because it was one of your most favourite games of all time growing up, or you just want to hear me discuss this game everyone kept harping on about way back when. And for those of the former, nope, you're not being blinded by the rose-tinted spectacles of nostalgia. As someone who first played this at 21, I can safely say that this game might just be one of my new favourites ever. It certainly seems to stand out from the other Mario games in this bundle. Super Mario 64 is still a very fun, run-of-the-mill platformer in spite of its age that I would still recommend. Super Mario Sunshine, from what I've played so far, seems by no means a bad game, and the beach theme brings some very nice summer vibes, though restricting it to this theme exclusively kinda feels limiting in terms of variety. I've also gotten to that Sandhawk part as well, and I wish I could hose it down with my magical jetpack hose of justice and splurge its sloshy remains into the black holes that seem to appear at the center of asteroids for some reason, which transitions me back over to Super Mario Galaxy, and I would compare it to Super Mario Odyssey too, but I've unfortunately not played that yet. The story is fairly standard as far as platformers go. Our hero is given their motivation for traversing, in this case outer space, to retrieve his love interest, Peach, who is once again kidnapped by that big smelly dinosaur he likes to go go-karting with occasionally. And so Mario must travel into space to stop Bowser from completing his fruit collection, while simultaneously helping a new mysterious character named Rosalina. By collecting stars, the collectible ones, and not the actual freaking suns, I should point out, to restore power to her common observatory, and lend Mario a hand in finding Peach. The game quite heavily features these spacey physics gimmicks with gravity on multiple spherical worlds, while simultaneously defying said physics by also having you breathe just fine in space. But Treasure Planet did this, and I love Treasure Planet, so I won't complain. So of course, we have the hub world splitting levels into different sections based on varying difficulty, the Mario Sunshine approach of each act of a level changing up the actual map to complete a new objective, some of which taking full advantage of the motion controls. Each galaxy gives us a small set of systems to explore, as well as a couple of extra challenge worlds at the side, some of which I'm surprisingly okay at, like that Loop-de-Loop galaxy. From a newcomer's perspective, one of the things that really hooked me into this game would actually be the motion controls, which is strange considering how gimmicky these things were at the time. Keeping one eye on my little waving glove, grabbing star pieces dotted around the background was a nice additional way to keep me engaged, rather than solely pushing a stick and some buttons at certain times. So every time I picked it up to play, I wanted to use the motion controls over the standard controller mode. Although I did end up using the buttons to spin attack as opposed to shaking in the end, since it's still far more consistent and saved my wrists from cramp harkening back to the teenage days. And this is why motion controls stayed as a one-off gimmick as they were supposed to. But for me at least, the gimmicky motion-based levels do work surprisingly well. However, the only part where I found some of the new mechanics to really falter was when the gravity was involved. Sometimes I would hold the joystick in one steady direction and Mario would run around in circles on the spot like he'd forgotten to add salt to his tagliatelle. That aside, I do still love how there's almost always some new mechanic in each galaxy, or some way to expand on said mechanic. And I get some people might not be into this sort of thing, but I like it when a game has something new to offer as you go along, so you've not basically experienced the whole thing after about 1 or 2 hours of play. It keeps you invested and offers a pleasant surprise. And on that topic, that one bubble stage really does feel majestic, where you're not worrying about dodging bombs. It's like you're blissfully gliding down one of those lazy rivers, but in space and a couple feet over a vat of toxic oil. Although another thing I find strange is for some reason the game doesn't allow you to manually turn the camera in underwater levels. And plus, somehow, I feel like the underwater controls are slightly better in Mario 64 than this game, which is honestly quite impressive. And I hope you like ice physics, because now we're combining ice physics with that omnidirectional platforming. I mean, to be fair, I found the final part of this galaxy where you're basically surfing over lava a very fun little finale for this stage, to actually control quite well. I don't know, maybe I'll need to get good at surfing levels. And this one goes for pretty much all Mario games, but I still find it strange that every time you quit and reboot the game, it resets your lives count all the way back down to the number you had at the start of the game, negating any need to grind a large number of lives whatsoever unless you're just really bad at the game. Still, at least Peach was kind enough to keep secretly sending you extra from wherever Bowser's keeping her. Wonder how long it'll take before he realizes she is very easily cheating on him. And I also like the idea that if Mario loses a race with a ghost, he straight up dies. Well, if you can't beat him, join him. But on top of everything I already love about this game, we need to bring up the soundtrack. Holy crap, it's probably somewhere up there with my top 5 gaming soundtracks of all time, even rivaling Rayman 3. Personal choice, and even Undertale's. I mean, imagine my surprise when I enter a level with a dirty name like Space Junk Galaxy, and then I hear something like this. But one of my favourites still has to be the one that plays in the Comet Observatory hub world after a few levels. I honestly cannot describe the pure happiness I feel when this waltz starts playing. And as well as that, we have Gusty Garden Galaxy, which once again brings this whimsical, heroic sounding score into a level where you're soaring through a massive gusty blue sky. Simply magical. Overall, the soundtrack has this heroic, cartoony, whimsical vibe to it throughout, which I am all for. Trying to go for something dark and sinister or anything else would just feel out of place in a game like this. And I also love how the music adapts to the gameplay in real time too sometimes. Beach Boy Galaxy switching versions when in and out of water is really cool, though it isn't anything new by any means. But one instance I particularly admire is when Mario is riding atop a ball. I don't get why he couldn't just walk here as normal, but I digress. And the tempo and pitch of the music changes as you speed up and slow down this ball, which psychologically makes the motion feel more responsive while also creating a sense of panic and chaos, which is probably what made this already quite precise level even harder for most players already having a hard time. Now, I won't go into too much detail about why 3D All-Stars on Switch was a fundamentally poor handling of porting old classics to a more modern system. Yes, it gave away very little outside of a quite minimalistic porting, it was overpriced, and the changes were mostly very, very minute. There's a whole video by King K that talks about this topic really well in detail. Why do you think I got this as a bundle with the console for my birthday, for goodness sake? But this is all about my first time playing one of the most widely beloved platformer games of all time. And regardless, I'll always be grateful for now getting to experience one of the smartest, most enjoyable, and now one of my most favourite platformers, up there with my childhood, that I never got to play.
She was a daughter of space.